Hey class, how's it going? Mr. T here. I just wanted you guys to know that I missed you and I missed having class with you this week so far. So I'm going to change that up. I'm planning on reading this book to you. It's part of the Stranded series. So we're going to get into that, okay? But before that, we've done this before. We're going to take a piece of paper like this. We're just going to fold it into thirds. Right, left, and then we're going to put the title on the front cover, like I've done right here. So you can do that, Stranded, and then by your name, okay? So you can go ahead and pause me if you want. It's a fun part about video. You can go ahead and pause Mr. T when you want. And I hope you guys enjoy this because I'm planning on doing this every day for the rest of the week, maybe next week over spring break, just to see you guys, even though you're technically only seeing me. So go ahead and put Stranded on your cover, get some colored pencils out. Hopefully you have a blank piece of paper. If not, lined paper will work. So get that stuff ready, colored pencils and stuff, and I'm going to start reading, okay? All right, Stranded. So this is a story about kids getting stranded. We're going to find out more. It was day 4 at sea. As far as 11-year-old Carter Benson was concerned, life didn't get any better than this. From where he hung, suspended 50 feet over the deck of the Lucky Star, all he could see was a planet's worth of blue water. The boat's huge white mainsail ballooned in front of him, filled with a stiff southerly wind that sent them scudding through the South Pacific faster than he'd ever sailed before. This was the best part of the best thing Carter had ever done, no question. It was like sailing and flying at the same time. The harness around him held him in place while his arms and legs hung free. The air itself seemed to carry him along at the speed of the boat. "How are you doing up there, Carter?" Uncle Dexter shouted from the cockpit. Carter flashed up a thumbs up and pumped his fist. "Faster!" he shouted back, even with the wind whipping in his ears. Dex laughed and was loud and clear. Meanwhile, Carter had a job to do. He wound the safety line from his harness in a figure eight around the cleat of the mast to secure himself. Then he reached over and unscrewed the navigation lamp he'd come up here to replace. As soon as he'd pocketed the old lamp in his rain slicker, he pulled out the new one and fitted it into the mixture, making sure not to let go before he'd tighten it down. Carter had changed plenty of light bulbs before, but never like this. If anything, it was all too easy and over too fast. When he was done, he unwound his safety line and gave him a hand signal to Dex's first mate, Joe Cahill. Down below, Joe put both hands on the winch at the base of the mast and started cranking Carter back down to the deck. "Good job, Carter," Joe said, slapping him on the back as he got there. Carter swelled with pride and adrenaline. Normally, replacing the bulb would have been Joe's job, but Dex trusted him to take care of it. Now Joe jerked a thumb over his shoulder. "Your uncle wants to talk to you," he said. Carter stepped out of his harness and stowed it into his locker, just like Dex and Joe had trained him to do. Once that was done, he clipped the D-ring of his life jacket to the safety cable that ran the length of the deck and headed back towards the back. It wasn't easy to keep his footing on the Lucky Star, that's the name of the boat, by the way, he's on, Lucky Star, and rolled over the waves, but even that was part of the fun. If he did fall, the safety cable, also called the jack line, would keep him from going overboard. Everyone was required to stay clipped in when they were on deck, whether they were up to the work or not, or to puke, like Buzz was doing right now. "Gross! Watch out, Buzz," Carter said, pushing him past. "Ugh," was all Buzz said in return. He was leaning over the rail and looked both green and gray at the same time. Carter kind of felt sorry for him. They were both 11 years old, but they didn't really have anything else in common. It was like they were having two different vacations out here. "Gotta keep moving," he said, and continued toward the back, where Dex was waiting. "Hey, buddy, it's getting a little choppier than I like," Dex said to Carter as he stepped down into the cockpit. "I need you guys to get below." "I don't want to go below," Carter said. "Dex, I can help. Let me steer." "No way," Dex said. Not in this one. You've been great, Carter, but I promise your mother before we set sail, no kids on deck while their swells go over 6 feet. You see that? He pointed in front of the boat, where a cloud of sea spray had just broken over the bow. That's a 6 foot swell. Looks like we've got a storm on the way. Maybe a big one. It's time for you to take a break. Come on, please, Carter said. I thought we came out here to sail. Dex took him by the shoulder and looked him square in the eye. Remember what we talked about before we set out. My boat, my rules. Got it? Carter got it. All right, arguing with Dex was like wrestling a bear. You could try, but you were never going to win. Now grab your brother and get him down here, Dex said. Okay, fine, Carter said. But he's not my brother, by the way. Just because my mom married his dad doesn't mean ask me about it tomorrow if I care, Dexter said, and gave him a friendly but insistent shove. Now go. By the way, while I'm reading this, guys, feel free to just color in and draw around the front packet, okay? As long as you're listening. Benjamin Buzz Diaz lifted his head from the railing and looked out into the distance. All he could see from there was the endless stretch of gray clouds over an endless stretch of choppy waves. Keeping an eye on the horizon was supposed to help him with the seasickness, but so far all he had done was remind him that he was in the middle of the biggest stretch of nowhere he'd ever seen. His stomach felt like it had been turned upside down and inside out. His legs were like rubber bands, and his head swam with a thick, fuzzy feeling, while the boat rocked and rocked and rocked. It didn't look like this weather was going to be changing anytime soon either, at least not for the better. Buzz tried to think about something else, anything else, to take his mind off how miserable he felt. He thought about his room back home. He thought about how much he couldn't wait to get there, where he could just close his door and hang out all day if he wanted to, playing City of Doom and eating pepperoni pizza. Wait, Buzz thought. No, not that. He tried to unthink anything to do with food, but it was too late. Already he was leaning over the rail again and hurling to the last of his breakfast into the ocean. Still feeding the fish, huh? Suddenly Carter was back. He put a hand on Buzz's arm. Come on, he said. Dex told me we have to get below. Buzz clutched his belly. Are you kidding me? He said. Can't it wait? No, come on. All week long, Carter has been running around the deck of the Lucky Star like he owned it or something. Still, Carter was the least of Buzz's worries right now. It was only day 4 at sea, and if things kept going like this, he was going to be lucky to make it to day 5. Vanessa Diaz sat on the Lucky Star's navigation station below deck and stared at the laptop screen in front of her. She'd only just started to learn about this new stuff a few days earlier, but as far as she could tell, all the orange and red on the weather radar was a bad sign. Not to mention the scroll across the bottom of the screen said something about force winds and deteriorating conditions. The first 3 days of their trip had been nothing but clear blue skies and warm breeze. Now, 900 miles off the coast of Hawaii, all of that had changed. Dexter kept saying they had to adjust to their course to outrun the weather, but so far it seemed like the weather was outrunning them. They changed directions at least 3 times, and things were only getting worse. The question was, how much worse? A chill ran down Vanessa's spine as the hatch of the gallery stairs opened, and Buzz and Carter came clattering down the stairs. How you feeling, Buzzy? She asked, but he didn't stop to talk. Instead, he went straight for the little bathroom, the head, Dexter called it, and slammed the door behind. Her little brother was getting the worst of these bad seas by far. Carter, on the other hand, seemed unfazed. Sometimes Vanessa called them the twins as a joke, because they were both 11 but nothing alike. Carter kept his sandy hair cut short and was even kind of muscly for his age. Buzz, on the other hand, had shaggy jet black curls like his father's and was what the adults like to call husky. Vanessa didn't think her brother was large, not exactly, but you could definitely tell he spent a lot of time in front of the TV. It's starting to rain, Carter said, looking up at the sky. Then close the hatch, Vanessa said. Don't tell me what to do. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Okay, fine. Get wet. See if I care. He would, too, she thought. He'd just stand there and get rained on only because she told him not not to. Carter was 1 part bulldog and 1 part mule. Jane was there now, too. She'd just come into the tiny sleeping cabin the 2 girls shared. Jane was like the opposite of Carter. She could slip in and out of a room without anyone even noticing. Carter, you always knew, was in the room. "What are you looking at, Nessa?" Jane asked. "Nothing." Vanessa flipped the laptop closed. "I was just checking the weather," she said. There was no reason to scare Jane about all that. She was only 9 and tiny for her age. Vanessa was the oldest at 13, and even though nobody told her to look out for Jane on this trip, she did anyway. "Dex said that there's a storm coming," Carter blurted. "He said it's going to be major." "Carter," Vanessa looked over at him and rolled her eyes in Jane's directions. But he just shrugged. "What?" he said. "You think she's not going to find out?" "You don't have to worry about me," Jane said. She crawled into Vanessa's lap and opened the computer to have a look. "Show me." "See," Carter said. "I know my sister." Vanessa took a deep breath. If the idea of the trip was to make them one big happy family, it wasn't exactly working. Technically, the whole sailing adventure was a wedding gift from her new uncle, Dexter. It had been 2 months since Vanessa and Buzz's father had married Carter and Jane's mother, but they'd waited until the end of the school year to take a honeymoon. Now, while their parents were hiking the Volcanoes National Park and enjoying the beaches of Hawaii's Big Island, the 4 kids spending the week at sea was supposedly to get them to know each other better. So far, the sailing had been amazing, but the sister and brother bonding thing, not so much, Vanessa thought. The weather wasn't helping either. It looked like they were going to be cooped up together for the rest of the day. "Is that the storm?" Jane said. She pointed to the large red mass on the laptop screen. "That's it," Vanessa answered. On the computer, it seemed as if the oncoming front had gotten even bigger in the last few minutes. She started braiding Jane's long hair to distract her. "It's just rain, right?" Jane said. "If this was something really bad, we'd already know about it, wouldn't we, Vanessa?" Vanessa tried to smile. "Sure," she said, but the truth was she had no idea how bad it was going to be. None of them did. All right, so you should have your trifold like this and opened up to that first left slip here. You guys can go ahead and write chapter 1 at the top like I've done. And I want you to write a couple sentences that pretty much recaps the whole story, okay? And then a little picture of what you imagine you saw, like I did here. There's a ship out on the ocean, and then there's a bad storm coming. So I wrote something like, Carter, Buzz, Vanessa, and Jane were all new siblings. They were on a boat trip together with their uncle, and a storm quickly came up on the boat. That pretty much breaks down that 11-page chapter, like that, and we still get pretty much all the details. Oh, not all of them. I could have talked more about each character, like Buzz and Carter, both 11 years old. But Vanessa's 13. Jane's the youngest at 9. And they're on this trip to get to know each other better because they're brand new siblings because their parents just married. Okay? So you guys can do that. And then on another little spot in here, if you got room or somewhere on a different paper, because I don't have much time with you, we're going to just do a quick little math problem. How's that sound? 683 times 5. I know all of you know how to do that, so this shouldn't be too hard for you guys. Okay? And if you guys follow every video in the future and get all these slots filled up, you guys are going to earn a big reward when you come back to school, okay? Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys when we get back to school, and I'll see you for chapter 2 tomorrow. All right, see ya. Bye.